Kathleen Merrigan of the class of 1982. Kathleen is Deputy Secretary of Agriculture, and I'm definitely going to have to tell my daughter that I met you, because she's always telling me about how Secretary Vilsack is a graduate of her college. So I'm glad you're there in DC to set another NESCAC grad on the straight and narrow. Food is sort of like the weather. Everyone talks about it. Nobody does anything except Kathleen. She's sort of a foodie, but from the legal perspective. She wrote the Organic Foods Production Act of 1990. She made sure that what we get what we pay for when we buy food labeled organic. She has worked for farmland conservation and sustainable land use. She's been an academic and a civil servant. On the latter side, she's worked in the legislative and executive branches and on the state, federal, and international levels. Now she's in charge of day-to-day operations and budgeting at USDA. And with all that going on and renewal of the Farm Bill on the table in Congress, we're very lucky to have here today.
So, my days begin with a thump as the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post hit the end of my driveway. My days end with an online read of Politico, daily for people who live and breathe politics. Okay, my kids call me a nerd, but a kinder evaluation might be that I'm consumed by current events. And so in thinking about my remarks today, I couldn't help but reflect on the discourse du jour about the extent to which we as individuals own our own success. For those of you who may have been busy packing up for your fall semester and missed the news, much has been made of a comment by the president, skewed out of its full context, in which he essentially suggests that successful businessmen were likely aided along the way by teachers, government, and the like. His remarks provoked an indignant retort from his opponents who declared, "I built it myself." Well, no surprise here, I side with the president. But how could I not? To think that my success, that the career that I've built, has been solely my own invention, fully resourced and generated by my ideas alone, is ridiculous. Heck, I'm the embodiment of Secretary Hillary Clinton's slogan, "It takes a village." Let me begin my accounting at Williams. Although I could speak volumes on what I owe my family, that brought me to the threshold of West College, where I spent my freshman year. As many struggling families understand all too well today, college is expensive. As the daughter of public school teachers, let me be clear, without the all-important needs-blind admissions policy, I would not have studied at the greatest of all colleges. My parents grew up in North Adams. As a young man, my father served as butler to President James Finney Baxter. President Baxter took a shine to my dad, and so the family lore goes anyhow, offered him the chance to attend Williams. My dad declined, having no money and knowing that Williams was populated by the well-to-do, with life revolving around fraternities. He just wouldn't fit. So that may explain why, at first, my parents didn't want me to apply to Williams. They feared that I would get in, and they would be faced with telling me that we couldn't afford it. I actually began the application process secretly, only revealing my plans when I needed my parents to fill out the financial aid form. It takes a village. So thank you, Village of Williams alumni, for your generosity that allowed me to come to Billsville and graduate with reasonable debt. And thank you for the Meade Government Scholarship that financed my summer internship in Washington, D.C., an internship to which I can easily trace back my current position. Once on campus, I sought out Professor James McGregor Burns. It's an old story, a professor changing a student's life. Jim became my friend and mentor. During the 1980 presidential campaign, I accompanied him throughout New England, stumping for Ted Kennedy. He arranged for a few of us to go to Iowa and work the caucuses during winter study. Knowing I wasn't keen on public speaking, he urged me to join the college debate club, something I hated at first, but was no doubt one of the best things I've ever done. Jim's seminar on leadership had such an impact on me that, to this day, it shapes how I think and act. The idea that leadership is collective, that the ability to lead is contingent on one's receptivity to being led, that there is a leadership-followership relationship that can, in its best moments, be transformative. That's an idea that stuck. It takes a village. Thank you, Professor Burns, and the village of great professors here who nurtured my intellect and created a thirst for knowledge that propelled me through graduate school. In my senior year, I found myself in the middle of a campus debate over the structure of residential housing system. I co-chaired a committee of House presidents and helped author a report that captured our collective vision of ideal community life. And much to my father's delight, by the way, that leadership gig had me dining regularly at President Chandler's house. The report heralded self-governance, community engagement, and peer learning. Williams, we said, is as much about learning within the residential housing system from our peers as it is about formal learning in the classroom. I have never drifted from that idea that everyone has something to contribute. It takes a village. Thank you to my classmates who taught me the value of hearing every voice in the room, and furthermore, for seeking out voices that may be unheard. So I come to this podium today for my work in organic agriculture. Let me give you some highlights. In 1988, while working in the Senate, I had a visit from an organic farmer who asked for my help in getting a federal law passed to establish national standards for organic food. Hey, look, no one took him seriously in his jeans, unaccompanied by a well-heeled lobbyist. Organic agriculture then was considered, as Senator Bob Kerrey described it, hippy-dippy agriculture. As my colleagues in the Agriculture Committee were wined and dined by their constituent groups, I quietly set to work. How to give voice to the organic sector, which had largely been ignored by the power elite? A good question. Having a tremendous boss in Senator Patrick Leahy, I was given the freedom to be creative in my legislative pursuits. Using my perch on the Senate Agriculture Committee, I was able to knit together the ideas of farmers, environmentalists, consumer and humane care advocates and draft a bill. Through iterative dialogue, I was able to elevate the debate among advocates at the grassroots level, embody their values, and facilitate group learning. The result? A 1990 bill that overcame well-financed opposition, the establishment in Washington, and became the law of the land. Nearly 10 years later, when implementation of the law seemed intractably bogged down, I joined the Clinton administration and oversaw the writing of the implementing regulations. These were my birthing years. My daughter was born in 1999. The proposed rule that I was involved with was published at the very beginning of 2000. In August that year, I defended my dissertation, and in December, we came out with the final rule. Not to step into another current debate, but who was it that said women couldn't have it all? To this day, I'm working to improve the National Organic Program. And that farmer who came to visit me 20 years ago, he's now working by my side at USDA, and the department has set a goal to increase the number of organic operations by 25% by 2015. Every time I go into the grocery store and see that organic seal, or visit with the tens of thousands of organic farmers, or see studies that point to organic as the fastest growing segment of American agriculture, I know that I got to help that happen. In 2010, Time magazine called to say that I had been chosen as one of the most influential people in the world, with the likes of President Obama and Steve Jobs. Okay, I thought it was a scam. I figured some wise guy outlet was targeting the wannabes in Washington to see who thought so much of themselves that they'd return the call. Nope, I wasn't going to be outed that way. I told my staff not to respond. Well, Time magazine persisted, and we eventually connected. While I was dancing to the music of Prince aside Taylor Swift at the New York City Gala, I have to admit that it was tempting to believe that I was, in the Massachusetts vernacular, wicked important. But as my head started swelling, a voice inside reverberated, reminding me that this was not so much about me. Rather, it was about the coming of age of the sustainability movement, propelled by a decentralized network of local creative leaders. And you can always count on your friends for perspective. My friends quickly reminded me that Lady Gaga was among the Time 100, and to keep me real, they anointed me Lady Ag Ag. Earlier today, I had the opportunity to chat about some of my current work at a log lunch. I presented the effort Secretary Vilsack asked me to lead to facilitate growth in local and regional agriculture, which has, by the way, great overlap with our organic agenda. President Obama has said, local food systems work for America. When we create opportunities for farmers and ranchers, our entire nation reaps the benefit. So how to make this vision a reality? It takes a village. I set up a task force of USDA employees, the Know Your Farmer, Know Your Food Task Force, comprised of political and career staff, the highly ranked and the hardly ranked. The task force really should not have been seen as revolutionary, but for some reason, it was mind-blowing for critics on Capitol Hill concerned that USDA was drifting away from its support of traditional agriculture. Together, this task force thought through challenges and came up with strategies to accommodate often overlooked needs of small and mid-sized farmers and ranchers. Knowing that those of us in Washington are rarely the innovators, we've developed a geospatial mapping platform that showcases thousands of USDA investments in local and regional food and the people leading that local food movement on the ground across the country. From the young man who transformed his Seattle home garage into a federally approved sausage factory, to the kid in Ohio who turned his fall season pumpkin patch into a thriving year-round pumpkin puree business, to folk here in Western Massachusetts building a food processing facility to facilitate their farm-to-school efforts. The magic of the map and the work of the Know Your Farmer, Know Your Food initiative is that it facilitates a national conversation about agriculture, where food comes from, how it was produced, and who produced it. We need to engage, confront the challenges we face, pursue the opportunities before us at a time when, here in this country, the average age of farmers is 59. We need more people, young people, to engage in American agriculture and new visions to move us forward. My career has contributed to this overdue national conversation, but it is a conversation with many diverse voices, and that's a very good thing. So, President Falk, let me conclude by thanking you and my fellow alumni for this opportunity to publicly acknowledge that I did not build it myself. My success is the result of so many inputs, not least of which is the foundation laid by my Williams education. Thank you.